so good to see all of you. Getting feedback somewhere. It's been about 2 weeks since I've seen you. And after Samuel with aged in 2 weeks, that's a good thing. I'm very happy that you're here today. I'm going to invite you kindly come. Let's have the Woodbury Grace, please.
Bless us, most gracious Lord, from whom all goodness springs. May clean our hearts and fill our souls with good and joyful things. Amen. Amen.
Now, join your cards, water, please, just before the toast. Oil toast.
The co-runs of the bar.
And
To the king and the co-runs of the ballroom.
To the king and the Commonwealth.
To be recovered quickly.
thank you so much. Great to see you. All right. Let's quickly in terms of welcoming our guests and start with those online. Good to have you joining us today. And so are there any visiting Rotarians online? Kindly introduce yourselves, please. Any visiting Rotarians?
Good evening, fellow Rotarians and guests. Charlene Kearney, Rotary Club of New Providence. Pleasure to be here with you all.
So good to have you joining us. Any other visiting Rotarians?
Yes, good afternoon. Kim Woodmore, Rotary Club of Old Port.
I can see my friend. Any other visiting Rotarians? What about guests? Any guests online that members want to introduce at this time? And of course,
Good afternoon, Alexia Hempfield, guest of Nikki Rotarian, Nikki Ole.
joining us again this afternoon. Very, very good to have you join us. Did I miss anybody? Of course, in terms of our guests in the room, I'm going to invite I'd be Shannon to come and introduce our guests, a very special guest this afternoon.
Afternoon, Rotarians and guests. My guest today is my Manfred, who was here at my last meeting in person.
So good to have you with us. Thank you for running Chantal to us for these past few years. She has said that she has been and continues to be a very valuable asset to our club. And it is found sadness in my heart that she told me about extracurricular activities that outside the country that she's going to enjoy, but again, she's been a very valuable part of our country. And thank you for bringing us to us. Any other visitors? Please, kind of, Past President Stephen. Sorry, if you want to wait, please. Beautiful, thank you so much, welcome. Thank you so much. I want to introduce my guest, Maxine. Good to have you, Maxine, my guest. I beg your pardon.
President Darren, I have a guest on as well, because Cynthia Bodie, she's on another week.
You can't feel it off with you as one of us. But it's so good to have you.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Tamika. I missed you.
I was saying to you that my guest is on because Cynthia Bodie for another week.
Go ahead, Tamika.
Okay, so
Sorry, go ahead.
hear me, but my guest, Cynthia Bodie, she's on another week.
Beautiful. Cynthia, good to have you joining us this afternoon. We'd like to have a chat with you the other day. So
Yes, thank you.
did I miss anybody either online or in person? Want to make sure you know everybody. Good. I saw good job. If I was going like that, you're in video on time, you know, was like, well, I'm a month since I've seen you. I think you was amazing. I was amazing. You know, good to have you. You got Harrison. Be also really my friend. Especially now you're thinking. Yes. Good afternoon, Rotarians, you know, all of the distinguished guests. Good afternoon. I don't know you, ma'am, but we gave her some more flowers last week before last. Yes, I am late. I'm gonna work through it. So I'm gonna start fries off. I put in my fry, right? And rather than a regular $5, $10. All right. So I'm asking all of you who committed any infractions today. This infraction is my latest. I ran my badge. You cannot find me for what other. All right. $20. Password of the town. I said face. Right. Well, I still be Larry, right? Or Larry was here. Larry was here before. Larry had carte blanche. His service paid for it. Sergeant. All right. So Danny, Mike and I can first please. All right. So any other person who committed any infractions? Jamie and Doreen. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. What is you late? All right. What about on?
Open and praying that it's on here.
Remember, those of you, especially our members.
Oh, Lord, I look in.
Is it true? So if you know that you are committing an infraction, I know that some of you might not have your video on. Looks like a lot of you don't have your video on. I see Donnelly is a past president. Donnelly is up there. Past president Donnelly, can we see you? Dr. Dane, yes, good to see you. A pin on you, Dr. Dane. Where's your pin? No pin, Dr. Dane? You are mute.
Business on the screen.
Yeah. Is that money electronically from you?
I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to count the.
I don't think it's on.
Okay, so you all can redeem
Hoping that it
yourself
was.
by transferring the monies to our account. You can pay it online. All right. Dr. Dane, I see you still haven't unmuted yourself, so you can hear what your explanation is.
I know I always keep one in the car, on my desk, and at home, and I have to look for the one on my desk. It's not on me though.
Okay, so we'll glad to accept your fine of $5, please, all right? I understand Past President Herman is in the island of Inagua, not his district, he's outside of his district. So, you know, we're gonna fine you for that, sir. Please unmute your mic. What is your aspiration? What say you, sir?
You say you're fining me for being out of my district? This way I'm now posted.
District, right? But you anyway, Nani, collector, right, boss? Fines.
Fines?
Yes.
Hello.
Everybody roll. Now, what going to do, veteran, if you want to. No pin? Okay, so veteran, librarian will give you $10, no pin, no badge. Nothing to say he's a veteran. How you could have a badge? It's not his club. But he should bring it from his club. Just $5 and just for no pin. I know I do that. All right. So you don't come back. No, we like our veteran librarian here. Yeah, just $5. Yeah. Okay, we wrap this up very quickly. Let's make it for one joke for yourselves. Okay. Okay, I haven't had a chance to actually screen this joke, so I'm just gonna say it in impromptu. That'd be good. All right. So this one is entitled "A Doctor and a Lawyer Are Talking at a Party." Please help me with this one. Because the joke is so good, you can have fine. Their conversation is constantly interrupted, much like what Sam does to me, right? By people describing their ailments and asking the doctor for free medical advice. After an hour of this, the exasperated doctor asks the lawyer, "What do you do to stop people from asking you for legal advice when you're out of the office?" "I give it to them," replies the lawyer, "and then I send them a bill." The doctor is shocked, but agrees to give it a try. The next day, still feeling slightly guilty, the doctor prepares the bills. When he goes to place them in his mailbox, he finds a bill from the lawyer. Someone tell Sheila, please. Sheila, listen, all right?
It's all like cross.
Thank you very much. I think I'm. Okay, so let's move very quickly because we have a wonderful guest speaker in the house. That's why we have a few announcements. As you may know, this coming Saturday, one thing I discovered, Sergeant Arms, I want you to take note of this. Whenever I always love to have Charlotte, because Charlotte is very strong. You know, she brings the kitchen gallery with her. So when you combine Charlotte and Sheila, that's not a very good combination at all. This coming Saturday, February 10th, at 7 p.m. at the Bahama Convention Center, the Rotary of East Nassau is having the $1 million dinner. All of us are invited to attend to support that club because the proceeds are going to go towards extremely worthy causes. And so again, this coming Saturday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Bahama Convention Center. I was spoken with President Kristen this morning and said again, the tickets are available, so all of us encouraged. The price of the ticket is $350. The ticket is $350, and the tie is black tie. So again, all of us are encouraged to support them coming Saturday.
Said last night, they already raised 800.
On the 17th of this month, again, the road and the St. Barnabas Park. 400,000 persons who have their own perspective in you. 10 to 3, the St. Barnabas Park, So for all of us, again, I encourage people to join that effort. One, I think there's ever a time we need to be able to come together on such an initiative in terms of peace in our community, more specifically in Providence. The time is now, so all of us are encouraged to attend. It's in Barnabas Park. It's in the grove, Black Grove. Yeah. I can decide. We went out, I think about 2 weeks ago, and China would have alluded to it again today of going to the Texas Vegas. You could do fellowship with us before she came. So on Friday, Friday 23rd, at 6 p.m. at Green Park, inviting all of you on your guests, please come with us some time. Shanta before she goes on to Texas Vegas. So mark your calendars, Friday 23rd at 6 p.m. at Green Park for the joining time of celebration with Shanta. We've really introduced our speaker for this afternoon. Share with us a wonderful presentation. I was mentioned in the chat that just remember after today's meeting, so we can ask people on give us sufficient time to be able to share with us. So Owen is going to come now and introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Our speaker today is a pleasant speaker, certified corporate trainer, personal development coach, HR strategist, and consultant. Her leadership advisor, men's empowerment advocate, educator, newspaper columnist, soulful singer, radio and television host. She was named as Caribbean Woman to Watch in 2018 and was honored as a Mentor of the Year by Project Bahamas in 2022. She has worked with small, medium, and large corporations in an area of specialty and passion, which are shaping vision and strategy, leadership development, and culture transformation. She has a bachelor's degree in English, a master's degree in career and human resource development, and numerous certifications. She has worked in both the public and the private sectors. She is the author of 7 books and is currently the founder and head consultant of the beauty training and consulting firm Limited Life. Ladies and gentlemen, I have heard this speak on many occasions, and I can tell you today we are in for a treat. And so I asked him to stand with me as I welcome Margaret.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. Thank you for your warm welcome, words of introduction. Can you hear me well? I do my Toastmasters and Rotary voice here. So we're just gonna try something on the technical side to see if you can see my slide.
I'm Shanta.
Why don't you go to, this is the 2 gentlemen in the same shirt. You can just link the share screen.
I know one of those gentlemen, I know.
You can try it now.
If he did, I'd be very disappointed if we go way back. Victory. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again, and thank you to Danny for reaching out to me for this invitation. I bring greetings from your fellow club, Rotary Club Nassau Sunrise, and it's good to be here. I think it's maybe my first time at this club, so. Yeah. So Danny reached out because he heard me do this presentation at Toastmasters convention last year. And that was a very exciting opportunity. And so I want to share some of what I talked about in that presentation, talking about going from collision to collaboration. And, you know, conflict has never been anything new to us in our community. You know, we are, of course, all anxious about what we see happening in our community today. But conflict is nothing new. We've all experienced conflict in one form or the other with various groups and types of people, right? And conflict isn't always going to lead to violence, but we do need to know how to deal with conflict appropriately. So I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin. I'm going to read it in case you can't see it. It says, remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but far more difficult still, to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. Isn't that profound? Yes. And that usually underlies where conflict comes from. We are so tempted to say the wrong thing at what we think is the right time, because we want to have the best effect of what we're going to say. And we feel wonderful at the end of it, and the other person feels terrible, right? We hear it, people say it all the time. I'm the bush. I can get whatever I need to get off my chest. And I don't really care about the impact that it has on you. My chest is clear. So we want to talk about how we can avoid conflict, or at least handle it in a most appropriate. So the business case for conflict resolution is conflict costs us. Not only does it cost us mentally, emotionally, socially, but it costs us financially. Some of these statistics that are shared here shows where people spend on average 2 hours dealing with conflict at work. When you think about that. Now, I work professionally, I am an HR professional. So I can tell you from sun up to sundown, I'm dealing with conflict in some way, shape, or form. I'm either mediating a conflict between people, or I'm listening to someone vent about the conflict that they have going on with people. And a lot of times the conflict is ongoing. So we have other impacts of that, right, in the workplace. So work isn't getting done. People are getting stressed out. People are quitting, right? Whether quietly quitting, as we've been hearing about, that they are on the job and they're just checked out mentally, or they're actually leaving. So conflict, or maybe I should say unresolved conflict, costs us, and we pay their price for it. So what causes conflict? I'm going to highlight 4, but of course there are many other areas that can cause conflict. One is personality. And you may say, how can personality cause conflict? Very easily. Because there are some people, we just don't like their personality. It's as simple as that. And they may not like yours. And it doesn't have to be that they are disruptive. They're just different. One of the things that I had to learn, I started my career as a teacher and a corporate trainer. One of the things I had to learn was not to force quiet people to talk. That in itself can irritate people, right? You're a talker and you're faced with a non-talker. You're already mad because you ain't talking enough, right? That's how people feel, and you want to force that person to talk. And they get upset because I don't want to talk, or I don't want to talk now. I want to talk in my own time. I want to talk when I have something valuable to say. I just choose not to say anything. I have no response to what you're saying. But can you see how differences in personality can cause conflict? Then we have stress and workload. When we are stressed out, when we are overworked or feeling stretched, is when our temper can get stretched. We get irritated. We say, you're getting on my last nerve. That's what that means. And so, you know, when you're on the last nerve, you know what happens after that, right? Trip up. You on the last nerve. So when we are stressed, when we are stretched, we are less patient. And so sometimes the simplest thing can trigger us off. And we are now in conflict. Another cause of conflict is the clash of values and dishonesty. Now, of course, you know, as Rotarians, we live by the four-way test, I hope. Can I say it again? I hope. We are living by the four-way test. So when we have a clash of values where we're not seeing eye to eye because we believe different things. I remember doing a presentation or training really with some leaders, and they were complaining about the younger generation. And one person said, they don't have any values. I say, oh boy, I can tell the kind of relationships he has with the young people on his team, which is probably zero. You can't say people don't have any values. Everybody has values. They just don't believe what you believe, right? And so how do we find the middle ground? How do we find that place of tolerance? How do we find that place of respect and acceptance? Does it mean that I have to accept what you believe? Or do I have to accept you as a person? Food for thought. Last one that I want to share is poor leadership. Now we could go on for days about this one. But when people are not exhibiting effective leadership skills, and that can range the gamut of all of these things, right? Personality, work ethic, or the lack thereof, value system, belief system, how you treat people, how you talk to people, are you organized, are you visionary? Like all of those things can amount to poor leadership. And people get frustrated with that, and it can cause conflict. So the most important thing, I believe, to help us through to resolution is courageous communication. Sometimes we have to have the conversations that we don't want to have. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. Sometimes we have to bite the bullet, and in spite of what we think, how this person may react, how they may respond, what may come out of it, we need to sometimes put some things on the table. We have to put the cards on the table and say, this is what it is. How are we going to move past this? So here's something for you to think about. What kind of communicator are you in conflict? I don't know if you could see my little animals there, but I'll start at the top corner. The ostrich. The ostrich wants to blend in under the radar. I don't know whatever convinced the ostrich that they could hide themselves by putting their head on the sand. I'm understanding they don't put it in the sand, but it's on, right? But they are trying to keep a low profile. So these are the types of people who are not going to really engage in that courageous conversation. And in fact, if you could just think that I'm not even in the room, it would be that much better for me. That's the ostrich. I'm not going to ask anyone to raise their hand to see if they're an ostrich. The next one is the barking dog. This is the next communication style in conflict. And the barking dog likes to distract you from the real issue by making noise. So these are people, yeah, but they never hit the real point of the matter. They, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. But he said, politician, just like bad of it, talking on you. But they try to overpower and distract you by being a communication bully. They feel like if they could intimidate you enough, you can back down off pushing this issue forward that we need to resolve. Y'all know any barking dog communicators? Just don't say you're married to one, that's all right. Okay? The next one is the rabbit. The rabbit here wants to just watch and wait. It's similar to the ostrich. The rabbit wants to just follow the lead of whoever is talking, right? They are seeking peace more than resolution. Now that's an interesting thing here. Sometimes when we are seeking peace, when we do not arrive to a resolution. So maybe the rabbit just doesn't want to hear the barking dog anymore. So they say, okay, I agree, you're right, you know. For the sake of peace. Barking dog. Just a great one. Seeking resolution goes beyond just keeping the peace. And I hear there's a lot in workplaces. I don't want to cause any trouble. I don't want to get anybody in any trouble. I don't want to take bread out of nobody's mouth. And when you do that, you think you have peace, but it's an illusion of peace. Because oftentimes, whatever is causing the conflict is still boiling. It's still there, bubbling under the surface and waiting for an opportunity to explode. And then we have the lion. The lion is the type that will listen and seek resolution. That's the lion. So I know everybody put their hand up. Now we are modeling not the roaring lion. We are talking about the silent figure lion. You know that lion that's just there observing everything, taking it all in? Lioness. So, we put the lioness out to work. Right? Observing everything and then saying, you know, okay, I've seen this, I hear your side, here's my side. How can we come to a resolution? What do you think your style may be when you are in conflict? Combination depends on the situation, depends on who you're communicating with at the time. Sometimes it depends on how high the stakes are, you know, what's involved. So you may be that ostrich or that rabbit if your job may be on the line. Or you're, you know, maybe going back and forth with your boss, you know, then sometimes you weigh the balances and you say, you know what, I'm gonna pick my battles. So does it mean that you're at peace? Maybe not, right? But it is what it is. So the style that we really want to focus on is collaboration. A lot of times we feel that compromise is the best way to resolve conflict, but it really is not. Anybody want to hazard a guess as to why compromise is not the best resolution style or approach? The issue still exists. Why? Go deeper. Why does the issue still exist?
Hasn't been resolved.
Why not? You didn't work it out. What did you do instead?
You compromise.
You surrendered, you yielded, you said, okay, you win. I give. Wave the red flag, the white flag. Not the red flag, the white flag. So it's an illusion of peace. Because what compromise does is it creates a win-lose scenario. Somebody's winning, somebody's losing. So the loser is going to walk away. You may feel like it's peace for a time, but you're still going to be bothered by the issue. See? So that's the danger with compromise. So we want to move to collaboration or problem solving. How can we come to this thing that we may call the third idea? Your side, my side, and a whole new side. How could we come to a solution? So as I close, I want to share some success strategies to resolving conflict and fostering collaboration. First is to examine your beliefs. What do you believe about conflict? What do you believe about yourself in conflict? Because our belief systems are all created from our experiences, from our upbringing. Sometimes we are taught right in our homes how to deal with conflict. From children. You might be a rock and caboodle conflict resolution style, right? Fight until you win. You might be the flight type, run away and hide until it's over. I have a colleague who says, you know, when I ask him how things going at work, he'll say, I'm still under my desk. Right? You learn these things, you adapt these behaviors. We laugh about it, but you know, if you're always encountering these barking dogs, these abusive people, behavior, we learn to back off. We learn not to assert. We learn not to voice my opinion. You know, in psychology, they call that gaslighting, you know, when people tend to make you feel like you're the crazy one for voicing your opinion. And I never said that, I never did that. And then you start doubting, but I can't even remember now what I did. They don't manipulate your mind so well that you forget what went down until it happens again, right? So examine your beliefs, assess your your conflict resolution style, and how you communicate, how you behave in conflict. Use the communication tools that we have at hand, you know, to assert yourself, to listen. Listen for what's not being said, listen to what is being said, and then apply those techniques. Make courage an ally. Don't be afraid to jump in and address issues as they arise in a respectful, professional way. Have collaboration as a goal. So we're moving away from compromising, right? We're moving away from win-lose to win-win. Collaboration is win-win. So when we collaborate as our goal, we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we all can walk away from the table saying, we are at peace. We have peace in this camp. And finally, embrace feedback. This takes courage. When you can hear from people their perceptions of you. This is not easy. But when you can take the courage to hear what people are saying, you may not have realized that you act like a barking dog, or that you just hide and you're not coming to the table to talk and you really share how you feel. You know, those passive aggressive people, everything's okay, but then you see the body language, the twisting of the head, the rolling of the eyes, the sucking of the teeth, and you know everything is not really okay, right? Maybe you didn't know that you were doing that was your go-to response, right? And then finally, let's get to the third idea. Sometimes when we are in opposition, we can find something new. Innovation never comes from doing the same thing repeatedly. Innovation comes from disruption. When someone decides to do something different. So yes, I may be holding on passionately to my idea and how I think it should go. And you are holding on passionately to your idea of how you think it should go. But there may be somewhere there in the middle, an idea that both of you can agree on. And so it is with thanks that I say to you this final quote. We don't get harmony when everybody uses the same note. And I see Samita online, so she understands this as a fellow musician. Only notes that are different can harmonize. The same is true with people. Thank you.
I want to say a special thank you to our guest speakers this afternoon. And Danny was quite correct in terms of his invitation to you. Very, very powerful, outstanding. Very, very outstanding. I'm sure there are some questions that you may have for our guest speaker this afternoon. So let's take a few questions at this time. I guess my first question is, how do we transfer what you've said to very practical ways now, especially in our community, given what is happening? People are feeling not happy when people resolve issues. How do we transfer?
I think it's important. I think it's important that for us to really bring this home, that we have to exemplify these principles. And that's why I always start solution with the self. It has to start with the self. How do you show up, right? How do you show up in conflict? At home, at work, in Rotary, at church, wherever. Are you the person that nobody wants to work with? Are you the person who everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't want this person on my committee because all we can do is row, right? So you have to start, I believe, with understanding who you are, how you show up, and practicing self-control. Practicing self-awareness. Emotional intelligence is key. You have to know yourself, and then you have to try to always be in a growth mindset. No one ever arrives. I don't care what fancy title that you've attained in your life or how big your bank account is. You could be the smartest, richest, most conflict-oriented person, right? That nobody wants to be around. Hello? So look at the self. Practice self-awareness, self-reflection. When you find yourself in the moment, sometimes you gotta pause. Sometimes you gotta say, you know what, can we address this tomorrow, right? Creating boundaries and saying, you know, it seems right now that you're pretty upset and I'm not sure if we're gonna get far with this. Or you could say, I'm pretty upset right now. I am not able to pursue this conversation any longer. Can we defer this to tomorrow? These are the ways that we can start to, you know, and for all of our Bible-toting believers in here, a soft answer does turn away wrath. So when you are faced with someone who is enraged, when you match their energy is when we have conflict. You don't match their energy. That's why all of our people that teach about conflict, my good friend there from the police force and all of our youth work we used to do back in the day, that's what they tell them when they do, and it's based on how they talk to people. I can start on that. He's my friend today. You know, but That's what we tell young people, walk away. They find it hard to walk away because they say, if I walk away at the punk, I gotta show who's, right? So all of those things are beliefs that we have to tackle. Can you still be a forceful person? Can you still be a man? Can you still be a strong woman and still walk away, back off, back down from that argument? Yes, you can. Strength is in having self-control. Strength is in saying, I choose not to partake in this. That is strength.
Thank you. Any other questions for our guest speaker this afternoon?
And it might be different from conflict, which is through conflict. I know that sometimes at work that I've had to speak to certain staff members. If I get sort of riled up when I don't see the performance level that I'd like it to be, people slacking off and so forth. Yeah. And then, I tend to get like, my way of dealing with it is that I get very, I suppose, impassioned and tense. Yeah. And I realize that I've had a fight turn over, right? Stop. Yeah, I mean, do I stop a lot longer?
Grace, you got a higher score.
No, but on a serious note, again, starting with the self, you have to ask yourself, why does this trigger me? You're triggered by non-performance, right? So you have to ask yourself that. Why does this make me so angry? I'm trying to get a new leave. That's your answer right there. But the way to get it is when you're dealing with people now, which is in all the change, like scenario we in today, right? Because they showing you, they believe they're not gonna be, talked to and shouted at and all these other things. So create very clear expectations for the performance. Sometimes we think we're being clear and we're not. So outline very clearly your expectations and have your partner tell them. What is expected, and then have regular check-ins. So give people feedback. If you see they're not cutting it, then tell them. And tell them what is specifically not going well. And then if you have to start documenting it because it's a recurring pattern, then that's the way you help them out.
No quick fix.
There is no quick fix with human beings. And I think another tip too is when you are hiring people, make sure that you are hiring the best type person for the job that you want them to do. Do your due diligence, check them out, all the references. Sometimes they put relatives, boyfriend, neighbor, they go give them glowing references. Do your due diligence. Do in-depth interviewing, multiple interviews. Yeah, right? So you make sure you're bringing on the right person, you're setting clear expectations, you are checking in with them, you're giving them feedback when they're doing it well and when they're not, right? You're welcome. That was free.
Everyone, thank you. Everyone here in the video. Would you mind taking? Stephen Davis, yes. Thank you. Okay, so the vending raffle ticket is known is 0808.
Oh.
08, no?
Larry.
Huh?
The total revenue that back for the raffle is actually $115, and the fine total is it $30 or $50? Is it 30 or 50? 50.
Yes.
So raffle total 115, fines total 50. Congratulations to both. Thank you again for that. Okay. I think we only have let me just go to what you got before I start. All right, number two, Joe. Just very quickly.
Just very quickly, just wanted to update everyone. We had last week, Thursday, last week, Thursday, we're very happy to say that we hosted our first pre-orientation for new members who are coming in. Went very well. We have a number of persons who, and I want to thank Nikita and Tamika, who invited their, and also Molly, she's not here, who invited a guest to join, to become members of our Rotary Club. And we had a very good meeting with them. We'll be doing the next one next month. So I'm encouraging you, if you have any members who you would like to become a part of the Rotary Club of Nassau, please let us know, because this is the first step in them becoming a Rotarian. And I want to thank everyone for doing that. And then finally, we have 2 birthdays. We just say quickly who our birthday celebrants are. I know on the 14th, we have Rotarian Maxine Seymour, who will be celebrating on the 14th. Nice. That's a special day. You know, she don't know us.
Oh, geez.
And then of course, we have Charlene. Charlene celebrated on the 3rd. On the 3rd, so come on, give it up to Charlene. We celebrated Jen on the 1st. And so that's the 3rd. And the next meeting will be the 17th, so we'll recognize them. Everybody has birthdays, yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to say a very special thanks to all of our guests who may be online. Are there any guests online, Francina?
Yes.
Okay. So a very special thank you to all of our guests who joined us. And I'm saying a very special thank you now because I want to go into a tour session with just the members of RCN for a very brief moment. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all next week.
You do it again.
Hold on.
We're good to go.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe not. Okay, very quickly. Okay, very quickly. I think some of you may have had a question or concern in regards to pets. The conference is coming up April 28th to May 4th. And I think your concern was you're not hearing anything from the executive.
Hi, you're muted.
Hi, Darren. Yeah, the last thing we heard was the date of the conference.
Okay, so the conference is set for April 28th to May 4th. And I said that I think a number of members may have a concern that they haven't heard whether or not President-elect Wayne, along with Francina, are going to the conference. And so I said to the executives last night, as opposed to there being private chatter about the issue, I prefer to address the issue in this meeting where everybody can speak and say whatever their concerns are. So the first one I said to them, I'll say to all of you, whose obligation is it to make certain that the president-elect and the incoming secretary are registered for the conference? That's mine. And so I would have said to them that the lack of them being registered in advance rests entirely with me. And so if anybody had a concern as to why they were not registered in advance, then you're quite correct, that rests with me. The second issue, I think, or concerned members may have had to say, have we paid for them? And the answer is yes, we were only able to pay for them and register them as recent as today. So both President-elect Wayne and Francina are now booked to go to the conference April 28th to May 4th. I said to the executives, and I'll say to all of you, the financial issue of this club is a very serious issue. And so we need to be able to look at ways in which we are able to go ahead and raise more monies for our club. We were able to pay for them. And I think the cost, I'm not sure if Gabby is online, but I'll tell you exactly what the costs were that we were paid. The total cost for the airline was $929.84. And in respect to the hotel accommodations, was $4,595, that being $2,297.50 each. And so those costs are being paid. The monies for the payment came from the general account of our account. And so therefore, we now need to be able to try and raise funds to replenish that. In regards to, and I'm not speaking in the position of the treasurer, but just as a matter of update, those funds were able to be paid after all of our attending costs for this year have been settled. I'm talking in terms of fines, I'm talking in terms of dues, et cetera, et cetera. So we were able to pay for those out of the general account, but it means that we are in need of more money. So I've outlined to you what we would have paid, how we would have paid it. Now, if you have a concern or a question or anything of that sort, I want to give you a chance now to say whatever is on your chest that you wish to address, if you have a concern or question. Maxine.
I do have a concern or question previously, but my question is prior to the next election, is it possible for us to make an adjustment as a club to say that the president-elect, like whoever has to go has to like maybe pay 50% or cover their own costs halfway? Like, is that possible or is that like the absolute no?
I'll tell you what my thought is, Maxie. No. I'll tell you what my thought is, okay? My thought is no, because this is a mandatory event that the president-elect and the secretary has to go to. And so as it is mandatory, we cannot put on them an event that they have to attend on behalf of our club. The second thing is this: you didn't hear me outline to the club a per diem. My recommendation is, now that Bain and Francina are going, again, we have to consider what per diem we're going to give to them in terms of just their expenses when they go. Whether it has been done in the past, whether it's been done in the past or not. If I'm, this is my view, okay? And this is not sacrosanct, so the club can make a decision on it. But whenever there's a travel, as far as I know, there is a per diem that's given to those persons who travel. And so we're saying to Bain and Francina, you all are going to represent RCN at a mandatory event. Therefore, in my thought, there ought to be a per diem given to them. That's my view. Now, if the club decides by voting that no, then that's the decision the club made. But that's my view. They ought to get something.
A per diem is only given if they have to buy food. If food is included in the hotel cost, right?
They can on behalf anyway.
No, we not talking that. No, we didn't get into that.
Yes.
But in the conference, your food is paid for in the conference.
But they may not necessarily, if they decide to go outside the conference or whatever.
Well, then
That's not for them. We only send it to the conference.
And
Sure.
you mentioned that they were traveling on 28th, so how are they getting there? British Airways don't fly on Sundays.
American.
I'll tell you what it
They
is.
have to go on the 27th.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
They have to go on the 27th. They come back on May the 5th.
No, American Airlines.
You're using BA.
It's not BA. It's American Airlines.
Where are you going?
American Airlines.
They're going on American. They are both.
Yes,
So
they
they're
are.
Americans through Miami.
Correct.
Said it direct.
I have a problem. I have a question.
John.
We have, what, 60-something members in this club. We shouldn't have financial problems. Because the, all the conferences and things are paid for out of the general fund into which dues go. And the only thing comes out of that account, funds payable to the district, to RI. That's it.
Exactly.
We've been having this discussion in respect of election dues, God knows when. We've got right now receivables of over $4,000 in respect to dues. And so the answer to your question, Past President Sam, is this: if members were to pay their dues in full and or on time, you're quite correct. We shouldn't find ourselves in this problem. But the reality is we're not getting all of the dues on time. And so that's the harsh reality. Monies are outstanding. I keep telling you all, this issue in respect to membership dues, et cetera, has been a conversation that, as far as I know, has plagued this club for some time. And I had a conversation with another past president very recently to say, look, at some point in time, we have to address this membership issue head on to the extent to say, look, if you are a member, here's how you pay your dues. And if you don't pay your dues, you get cut. That's where we are right now, okay? So we've been having this discussion far too long in our club as to what we're going to do with delinquent members, either in attendance or non-payment of dues. And so the chicken has come home to roost. And so at our next close, I'm going to have a chat with the executives. And when we come back to the club in terms of the closed session, what decisions we're going to make. I said, look, I won't be have to deal with issues I'm dealing with. And so as a club, in terms of progression, we got to make sure that he don't inherit what I have. And similarly, he don't inherit what Wayne has. So when we start talking about membership, that's a big issue for us. So we have to fix it one way or the other. Anybody else?
Fundraising for the Kenya, I remember when I first came in, they had a fundraising committee, but I haven't seen anything coming out of the club with fundraising.
But they are the club fundraising, and we had resident, the secretary. It's great.
There is a fundraising committee, that is correct. And in discussions last night again, it was confirmed in terms of last year that the funds were raised via these various initiatives for myself and Francina. And again, the question now is this.
Mr. President, do we have any suggestions coming from the back?
I come right now, I come to you now.
We have a lot of chatter going on in the back, and I don't respect. We have to deal with these things, and there's so much conversation going on, and we need to deal with these matters.
Excuse me. The point is this, in respect to where we go now in regards to monies for the club, Anita, we have to identify a plan not just for my term, but for Wayne's term, Kino, and successive presidents. So we don't have to say that we have to specifically rely on ad hoc fundraising to be able to get the monies to fund these projects. And so I would have said to the executive team last night, I'm making my commitment to Wayne to say, look, let me sit with you. Give you my suggestions as to how best you can plan for your year, so that when you find yourself dealing with these kinds of issues, that there would have been that planning in advance to make sure it ain't catching you by surprise. So I agree with you in terms of what do we need to put in place to make sure that when these things do come up, we have a contingency plan in place to pay for them. I agree. Past President Stephen? Well, that's a good question. I think that
Because
68.
Before having a skill is that each one of us would be able to sponsor a particular individual for one day only. So I could do that. And that's what we said, instead of, because we, like I said, we say we have 80 members, but like you say, each one of us, he'd come to me, and we come to each other and say, look, you can sponsor someone for one day. Once you find out what the predicament is, you don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, we can eliminate that. I think sometimes we deviate from that sometimes, you know, because Rotary to me still is giving and helping in some situation. But so sometimes we don't almost have to take it on our corpus and look, we would say like $5 towards this over a period of time. And that's a good coming into Rotary sometimes. That's how I view it. So I don't take that off me. Everybody might not be in a position, but I think that's the spirit. It wouldn't take nothing, just like how I get $10 to buy a raffle ticket. I can say 80 of us or 50 of us give $10. We should have at least something towards the per That's just the view here. So I would, to cut the chase, I was thinking, find out what the per diem is, and I will take care of one day on these.
I agree to the same.
Sure.
There is two right there. That's two. That's
okay. Is there any?
That's right there. That's all right.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, raffle that.
Yes.
I used to bring in big sums and people just come to the meetings. Now all the people online can have tickets. So there's no contribution from that.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't have 10 people buying tickets, and you can have 80 people buying tickets, and the big difference in money that you collect. There must be some way that we can afford people online the ability to buy tickets and for them to be delivered the prize or whatever.
Yeah.
But we didn't let them, all of them off from contributing to tickets and to fines. When that used to be a big part of the money that we used to get.
I agree. I'm just trying to think in terms of how we digitally. I like the idea, and we gotta find a way to make it happen. I'm not sure if those of you online heard what, as we suggested, to say that we'd be able to make the raffles available online. So it is just a matter of us looking as to how is it that we can have the raffle tickets available to all of you online in order for you to be able to participate, in order for there to be more funds coming in. So we're going to have to give some thought as to how we can make that happen. But I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, great.
We actually started that last week. Larry, we actually gave the persons online the opportunity to actually purchase raffles. They can just pay online and we just got the ticket.
Okay.
So we got 3 persons last week to purchase. Because we didn't make the announcement. So now we can actually encourage persons who are online to do it.
Okay.
We're trying to innovate. We're trying to, and that's what our guest speaker talked about today. Whenever there's a situation like this, we can innovate. And that's what we started last week. So I'll encourage persons as they move on to do things like this. Persons online, they can pay their fines online, they can buy tickets online. So we're gonna incorporate all those. So that's a great idea.
The funds that are coming in from the raffle and the fines, are they going into the general account?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of them? Okay. Because a few years ago it got swapped, so the raffle was going into the community account. So now they all go into the general account. Yeah? Thank you.
All right, so finally on the per diem, Pastor Stephen, there's only a set amount to say what the per diem is. My thought is anything between probably $60 to $75 sounds like a reasonable amount to do. So
actually, I'll give you the money now, so that you can, I'll give it to you, so that you can decide if you do it.
How come we don't have the funds? When we had like 28 people in the club, we didn't have this issue every year, did we?
Nope.
No, the money was there, because right from the beginning of the year, it was known that come April, May, we have to send the president and secretary to be trained at district conference. So that money was always there. It was never impinged upon.
the money was not, and I use this word very carefully, Sheila. The money, I don't like the word impinged upon, right? No, let me say this.
Change.
Right? No, let me say this. For some time, this club has been operating on a very slim cash margin or in a deficit. Okay? And so hold on. And so if from one president to the next, operating on a very slim cash margin or a deficit, you would recognize that come January, February, March, in terms of having the funds available, again, you're going through a process of trying to raise that money to be able to fund these kinds of things. And so Gabby would have provided a snapshot as to where we were financially as a club. And so where we used to be, whenever there were 28 members of the club, I'm not sure what the time that was. But the reality is, I beg your pardon? Okay, so the reality is, if we look at where we are now financially, it tells us, okay, what we have been prior to COVID and where we are now is completely different. And so the truth of the matter is this: fines, raffles, fundraisers, payment of dues, all of these streams of income are very necessary now for the survival of our club. So it ain't make no sense us saying where we used to be. We have an obligation to say where we are now and what is necessary to get us to make us better. I ain't trying to pretty that up. That's where we are. All right.
Okay. But
that doesn't make sense. The dues that were coming in from 28 members that were then put into the general account, plus the fines, raffle, whatever, and any other funds that came in. We always had money to send people away. Now we have 68 members, if you ignore, you know, some of the people that we've dropped out. With 68 members, you should then have more funds left over after you've paid the various dues in the general account.
Okay.
Which should mean that you've got, what's the surplus after we paid dues? Do you know, Chantel? Or Professor? You know, when you, $400, okay, $400. How much is the total expenditure for RI, district and RCOB per capita?
I think we end up at about $80 per person. That's what everyone sees, but like that.
80 out of 400?
Yes.
Right, but sure, what I'm saying is this,
Sheila, 100, I think it goes to,
Sorry, sir?
100 is our, is the foundation.
Right.
Yeah,
Then you have district, you have Rotary International, and you have RCOB.
Right.
yeah, the three, you've got the three.
Right, so that's why we end up at about $80, yeah.
So we're left with about $80.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this.
But you were right about the
Right.
deficit.
I'm not going to speak about what was in the past, right? We provided a snapshot as where we were financially, I think maybe about 2 months ago. We did. Don't hit your head.
Yeah, we did.
Don't hit your head. We can do it again. Hold on, hold on. We can do it again. For the benefit of everybody. So that you can understand what we found financially when we came in, where we are now. So that to disabuse the thought of anybody's mind, perhaps, that there is this great abundance of money. And we ought to be able to fund these various projects. That ain't true. It ain't there. And so we will get a report to all of you, as you will. So I think if you look at the, thanks.
That's from me on Yvette.
Yvette, okay, thank you all very much.
Sounds like the dues and all of that went towards paying for it. But then you do have staple events throughout the year, so how were those being paid before?
And again,
do fundraising or what, that's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
obviously the dues, if it's going towards or supposed to go towards taking care of the person, you wouldn't have anything to do your staple events.
let me answer directly, Anita. For example, the Christmas feeding.
Right.
That was done by donation, all of it.
Some of that comes out of the community account anyway.
No, we're talking about the source of all of, we're talking about the source of funds. You're asking the question whether or not the community account has sufficient funds. And I'm very specifically saying in regards to the Christmas feeding, and the answer is all of the monies used for the Christmas feeding came directly from donations. Okay, that's project 1. Project 2, division screening. Again, donations. Back to school at Stephen Dillard came from donations. And so I'm saying to all of you that when you start to ask, how are you able to finance these various projects? Is it coming from the general account, or is it coming from the community account, or is it coming from donations? The bulk of the programs that we engage in this club comes directly from donations. But again, it's incumbent upon me to make certain that we provide you all the records that show to you what we found when we came in terms of the finances, and where we are now. And then if there be any questions that arise in respect to what we present before and where we are now, I'm more than happy to entertain those questions at that time. But I'm not going to, in the absence of the documentation being here for you all to see and to understand where we are, we can keep talking about something that we think was. Let's look at what the numbers are. That's what it is.
I think it would alleviate the questions somewhat if the club had the financial statements circulated on a regular basis, as they're supposed to be. As it is, the club is completely in the dark most of the time.
No, that's not true. That is incorrect. That is incorrect.
What?
That's incorrect. We provided.
When?
This is February. We had a closed meeting in January and Gary presented, you hear what I say? I can present you what I got, okay? And we gave the club the information in respect to where we were in our last closed meeting, the financial center, what was on the account, what we received, et cetera, et cetera. There's a very current report that I'm going to make available again to the club that Gabby will present. I share via WhatsApp, and you can have a chance to have a look at it.
Says out in 4 minutes within 30 days of the board meeting, is that correct?
Correct.
Constitutional before bylaws.
And again, I agree with you. The last circulation we would have done would have been, this is now February, was that December? No, man, you got was October?
That was what I saw.
We got October.
But it's supposed to have done 30 days after the end of October.
Okay, so you ain't gonna argue.
Yeah. Sorry, what I'm saying to you is that perhaps there would be less issues, not members, and less questions, and people stepping forward to assist if they were updated regularly and realized that there was an issue on the horizon. You know, that's why I'm saying.
That's it. Anybody else? Okay. All right, well, thank you all. If there are any questions, I guess we'll take them at another time, but thank you all very much. Let's start. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Yes. Rolling around the world. Rolling around the world.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. Pardon me?
Bye, Marcina.
Hi.